lot is happening. Give us that feeling before we dive into the meat of things. Give us that feeling. I mean, you would have had a lot of things throughout the years working in, of course, the facilities, and there was some low-hanging fruits. I'm sure that you just wanted to make sure that these things are implemented. What was it like? Of course, those few first couple of days.
Yeah, so of course, Mikey, yesterday would have marked just 4 weeks since the new government was sworn in, and of course myself as Minister of Health. So, over the last 10 years, of course, there would have been many, many issues that would have been experienced by the population, and issues, I and others would have raised, as the then opposition. But of course, there's a great sense of expectation, a great sense of hope amongst the population. And there's a lot to be done, and especially so in the health sector. It was one of the sectors that was identified prior to the election as being of prime concern. In fact, on par with the crime situation, So I think the population expects a whole lot. Now, one of the issues that, I've found, and it's no surprise, of course, is the issue of the long waiting for surgeries, the long waiting times in accident and emergencies, and the long waiting times in the clinics. So my approach together with the minister in the ministry, Dr. Richard Sturron, has been, to try and get a sense, now that we have the authority to go into the facilities. So you'd have observed that we would have taken the opportunity to visit some of the institutions, the San Fernando General Hospital, of course. We would have paid a visit to the Hoover Children's Hospital. We can come back and speak about that a little bit later on. And we would have visited some of the health centers as well. And that is the pervading issue. The issues remain the same. And of course, the burden of the NCDs, is there with us. And there is still the issue, of persons waiting, and almost struggling to get investigations, And Mikey, if I may, on a tour to the San Fernando Hospital, maybe in my first week, I was shown the 2 CT scan machines. I'll just give you an example.
Right.
And I was told, and assured that these machines are working and so on. And, over the weekend, unfortunately, I'm told that the machines are down. Now, so it speaks to issues of maintenance of, equipment and infrastructure and so on. Of course, I want to give the assurance to the population because now,
Yeah, but you know something, Dr. But when you look at it, I mean, here it is, people are actually talking to the minister, and you're telling the minister, which is, the information is not on point. He's asking, are these machines working? And you're hearing yes, and then you have to find out later on, no, they're not working. I mean, yes, it's a matter of management, proper management, but it seems as though the whole communication thing is off. You're not getting the information that seems to be on point.
Yeah, and I think that's the issue. But the further point I was going to make is that, okay, although that may have been correct at the time it was communicated, the issue that machines are breaking down so frequently and so on points to the bigger picture of the lack of maintenance, and I would believe over the years this has taken place. So it's just a symptom of what has been happening in terms of the neglect, not only of patients, of course, but of equipment, much needed equipment. But that was just an example I was going to point out. So there are many, many, many issues, of course, that we have to meet and treat with in a very short time. As one former minister would have said, you have to fix the plane while you're flying it, and I think that applies very appropriately to what we have to do in the health sector as a government.
Yeah. Now, when you look at the fact that, again, these machines, one of the things that many people talk about is that why is it that it can't be operating, throughout the entire day? Why is it that at 5 or at 6 o'clock, those in need, whether it be dialysis or whatever the case may be, why can't someone come in at 9 p.m. at night or maybe midnight or around the clock to gain access to these machines?
Right, so that's a very good point. I myself would have made that point that machines are designed to be operated, and I mean in other places in the world, of course, you have those facilities being available Yes, quite late into the evening, sometimes 9, 10 o'clock, you can go and have a test done. So those are some of the initiatives, and if I may mention, you spoke about low-hanging fruit, Mikey, and so one of the things that has already been done is the appointment of a committee,
Right.
which is headed by a senior surgeon, who has been tasked and has agreed to go into the hospitals and try to get a feeling of the waiting list and to recommend, for surgeries we're talking about, and to recommend measures that can be achieved within the public health sector itself. So we're not talking here about outsourcing and spending additional money. We are speaking here about trying to get more value for money from the staff that is already allocated within the hospitals and from the budgets that have already been allocated to the RHAs. So, and this is where we can speak about maybe having some surgeries done, maybe on a Saturday, for example. Operating theaters are not meant to be closed for 2 entire days. So if it is that to help with the backlog, it means that we have to make it happen that an operating theater becomes available on Saturday. That is something we can do. One of the issues that leads to the backlog of surgeries, of course, is sometimes the theaters, shut down at 2 o'clock because of the change of shift,
Right.
or not enough staff and so on. So those things are broad. I mean, you can have two, what you call two operating lists, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. But those are things that can be fixed fairly simply. Again, without having to inject too much funds. We can come back and talk about the funding also. That's also an issue that we'll have met in the health sector in terms of outstanding payments and so on. But I'm just sharing with you one of the initiatives in terms of the low-hanging fruit. The other I will share with you, Mikey, is, and your listeners and viewers, is the fact that the chronic diseases, the NCDs, it's a big burden. And while we are fixing things in the health sector, treating patients who need to be treated, those who need dialysis surgeries and so on, I'm also very acutely aware of the fact that we have to start with the prevention aspects of that.
Right.
So one of the things that the Honorable Prime Minister would probably announce, I don't want to preempt the announcement, but with the fact that we intend to keep the promise that we made in terms of opening more health centers with extended hours, and that will allow the citizenry to go at their convenience, after working hours, say after 4, between 4 and 8 p.m. perhaps, and even on Saturdays in some places to have the checkups done and to have the vitals taken, blood pressure, cholesterol, sugar and so on checked. So that will be an initiative in terms of the prevention of these chronic diseases. So those are two initiatives that are already, one is already in place and the other, will soon be rolled out.
Yeah, because you did mention at the U Health and Wellness Expo recently that the food labeling policy to clearly advise consumers when products are high in sugar. So, because these NCDs do put some pressure on the Treasury. It really does. It's not really, they really do. And I think we've been hearing too much about this for far too long. But how do you then get into the diet culture that we have cultivated here in this country? I mean, think about it. I mean, you have a lot of people who are on the workforce, a lot of women on the workforce. Preparing meals, nutritious meals, balanced meals could sometimes be a challenge. People are on the go. We're coming, like folks in North America, some people are now working 2 jobs. After one job, they're going to the next. So again, their eating habits and diet may be off. So how do you get to that diet culture that we now exists among us?
So it's a very good point. It is a very good point, and of course it speaks to a culture change, and that kind of culture change has to be driven by the Ministry of Health, but also in conjunction with the Ministry of Education. And in the very near future, of course, there will be some collaborative talks between both ministries, myself and the Minister of Education, in terms of how we can start the education in schools, because that is where it needs to be started. But it is a challenge, and the labeling of the foods is one step in the right direction. We do have this issue, of fast foods, and of course that's a big issue not only here but throughout the world. And we will have to find some innovative ways as we examine the problem. We will have to come up with some innovative ways to treat with this, in a way that can help. But public education is one, and the shift in culture is what is required, and so on.
On the issue of CDAP, the Chronic Disease Assistance Program, I know you may have heard a lot of people talk about it. I mean, really and truly, I think it's there for good intentions, but however, there seems to be, some people talk about the quality of the drugs. Is it on par with global standard and what have you? What can you tell us if any improvements can be expected?
Absolutely. So as you speak, I can just share with you that this coming week at the ministry, I'm going to meet, myself and the minister are going to meet with some key stakeholders with the intent of forming a committee, and that committee, the role of the committee will be to review the CDAP program. First of all, to look at the drugs. CDAP, as you know, has been around since 2003, so it's been there for a while. And so the first thing would be to review the drugs, see if they're still fit for purpose, so to speak, still appropriate treatment, and therefore there would be the opportunity to perhaps replace some of those drugs with more modern, up-to-date drugs. And also, the remit of that committee would be to see whether there are any additional conditions for which we should offer treatment via the CDAP program. So I expect, that within maybe a month or so, that we can have some sort of feedback on the status, on the state of CDAP. It's, whether we are getting value for money, whether the appropriate drugs are on the listing, and whether we need to add, what new drugs we may need to add. So very soon, we'll be able to share some of the findings and recommendations with regards to CDAP.
Yeah, because there has been a lot of talk about that, and a lot of people are concerned about it. I mean, it helps out, especially when, of course, those who are on fixed incomes, our senior citizens, and really and truly don't have that extra funds, and they depend on the program. So we really and truly hope that something could be done to improve it.
Definitely. I mean, the Honorable Prime Minister, himself has given the assurance that, CDAP is here to stay and to be improved, contrary to some reports that you would have heard, around election time. So there's no intention to do anything but to improve and perhaps expand CDAP at this point in time.
All right.
But of course that also goes in conjunction, as we said before, with healthy lifestyles and so on.
That's right. The Cuba Children's Hospital, I mean, it has something that was campaigned on the campaign trail. A lot of it was mentioned a lot of times, that basically it's there. It's really and truly could do quite a lot to get things going, to assist. What are we looking at?
So it remains an underutilized facility. I don't want to share too much on that at this point, Mickie, except to say that, of course, it will be operationalized and utilized for the benefit of the population. A preliminary site visit was done together with conjunction with UDCOT staff, and the facility. So what we are waiting on right now is a full report in terms of the assets that are there. From that visit, it would appear that some of the assets that were originally in the hospital are no longer there, and gone missing, so to speak. Whether those assets have been relocated elsewhere in the health sector or have simply disappeared, that is something that we will need to find out. And of course, the state of the infrastructure over the last 10 years in terms of whether it is being maintained. So the first thing will be to make that assessment, which is will be done by UDCOT, and of course then a report will be forwarded to the Ministry of Health for onward transmission to the Honorable Prime Minister. At that time, then some sort of decision will be made as to how we can fit the Cuba Hospital in terms of the overall delivery of healthcare to the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. But just to remind that those are 230 beds. The current situation is very unsatisfactory in terms of the fact that only 20 of those beds are being utilized. And of course, there is still state-of-the-art equipment there, MRIs, CT scans, ultrasound machines, and so on.
All right. Sorry about that. We seem to just lost the minister there. 1 second, folks. them back in, um, quite interesting.
I think we got cut off.
Yeah, I think
I'm
we
not sure,
we
I'm not
did.
sure up to what point you would have heard.
You were talking about the CT scans.
Yeah, so I'm saying that, there was the preliminary visit showed that some of the major equipment is still there, but of course we'll have to get an assessment in terms of their functionality and there's the issue of warrants and so on, expiration of warranty periods and so on. So that report is in the process of being compiled, and once we have that information, then we'll be able to plan the way forward for the hospital. But the commitment of the government and the Prime Minister, of course, is that that hospital will become available.
But that's some good news. When we started, you did mention about this long period of time for waiting for surgeries. I know people have been talking about that for quite some time. If you do get a date, sometimes it's not even within the year. You may get a date for next year, and some people say even when it draws closer to the time that they're scheduled for, they may get another call say, listen, that they'll have to wait a lot longer. I mean,
Yeah.
what are we looking at as far as making this more efficient?
Right. So as I mentioned earlier, as we speak, there is a committee that has already started work in terms of trying to address this problem. There are several issues. One, of course, would be the issue of scheduling. The other would be the issue of what we call drugs and supplies, and that's another issue, the farms and non-pharmaceutical procurement. And I think that's another issue we have to look at very closely, because we have expenditures, totaling, perhaps close to billions of dollars in terms of procuring and procurement of pharmaceuticals and non-pharmaceuticals, and yet some of these surgeries are sometimes postponed because of the shortage of materials and so on that are necessary in the operating theaters, sometimes switching materials, things like gauze and so on. So I think it speaks to two issues here. It speaks to the issue of supply chain, whether that is running properly in terms of the timely ordering of the stuff that is necessary for the doctors to do their work. And so that's something that we have to tackle on both fronts, and how best, whether theater time, operating theater time is being utilized optimally.
I know you mentioned that. I know you mentioned that whether it is that the money spent in the health sector provided value for money, and I think that's really good. Looking at it, I think the Prime Minister has set the tone from day one that wastage and looking at cutting expenditure, especially if it's not benefiting the people of the country, is the number one priority to save, but making sure that the people are served and, of course, things are delivered in a timely fashion. So that is something that I know is a priority.
Very important, because you see, when we go to the Parliament and we ask, for 6 or 7 billions of taxpayers' money to be allocated to the health sector, then it is only right that we explain to the population and we account to the population what can they expect for that kind of expenditure. Now, I just want to break it down a bit, because the RHAs, between the 4 RHAs in Trinidad I'm speaking about, received the bulk of that money in the region of $4 to $5 billion, and therefore we have to look, at what kind of output we're going to get for that. So it may mean that we have to come down in terms of doing the budgeting and the accountability in a bit more detailed manner, in terms of asking, well, how many clinic visits are we going to get for this? How many surgeries are we going to get for this? So myself and the minister in the ministry, together on with the guidance of the Prime Minister, we're already looking at how we can make the budgeting more delivery oriented, more performance oriented. So we're looking at deliverables, instead of just allocating money, and the population is not sure what they're going to get for that. So that is something that I'm hoping that we'll introduce in the new financial year, in terms of how the budgeting is done. It's not going to happen overnight, but the discussions with the permanent secretary and other officials have already started, and it's going in that direction.
Now, how, as far as relations with the doctors and nurses?
Right. So I have already, we've already the ministry, we've already taken the opportunity to meet with the Trinidad and Tobago National Nurses Association. Of course, they would have raised their concerns. The biggest concern would be the shortage of nurses in the sector, and that's something that we will try to address in the shortest possible time. There are the issues, of course, that were raised that we will look at. We also had the opportunity at the ministry, myself and the minister, to meet with the Trinidad and Tobago Nursing Council, which is the registration and regulatory body for nurses in Trinidad and Tobago. In other words, they're responsible for the licensing of nurses. And what we would have discovered is that there is a little problem in terms of those nurses who are graduating and having difficulty in getting registered to practice. And that is a gap that I intend to address with the assistance of the government, of course. And that is something that you spoke about, low-hanging fruits. That is something that we can fix. So there appears to exist in the current system, even though we have a shortage of nurses, we still have nurses out there who have graduated, have received their degree from the 3 nursing schools, and yet are unable to obtain registration from the nursing council.
Yeah.
I don't want to go into details of that
Understood.
this time, but that is a problem that that is something that I believe that we can fix in the short term.
All right.
That will add some more nurses into the system.
Sounds good. Like you said, it's only been a month, but you have, of course, been looking at the expansion of the health centers as far as the hours. You are looking at CDAP. You are looking, of course, at the non-communicable diseases, how best to deal with that, factor that into the budget, of course, and as well as educating the citizens of the country how important it is to get into a healthy lifestyle, which will save us some money as well. And you're also looking at the start operating of the Cuba Children's Hospital. So you've had quite a busy month.
Yeah, it's been a busy month, and I just want to close also because just to focus, one of the issues that that we had committed to is the improvement of mental health. So I just want to close, with the news, of course, that we have reviewed the mental health policy that we met in the ministry. We would have had to make little changes and tweak here and there, and there is a plan. There is a plan to roll out, the full operationalization of mental health services, because that is also important.
Yeah.
One of the issues that we can't forget is because of all the stress that the society has experienced, with the crime and then the COVID and so on. So on top of the existing mental health conditions we would have in the patients and so on, there's a lot more stress and mental health illness and conditions and so on. So we are very aware of that, and that is something that we're working on as well. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, that's very important. I mean, we've been hearing about, the figures on that as far as suicide and, people who are suffering from mental fatigue and so forth has been on the rise. And a lot has been taking place, and I guess people have a lot to deal with in today's society. So that's something that we really cannot just neglect or turn a blind eye to. So I'm glad that you brought that up. Like I said, I think...
Mickie, I did say that was my last point, but I really meant that was the second to last point.
Go ahead.
I can't leave without sharing as well that dental care in the public sector has been neglected. For far too long. There's something that we are looking at in terms of improving the services. As you know, dental services privately are very expensive, can be quite expensive, and we are looking at how best we can improve the dental services within the public health sector. The minister in the ministry, Dr. Sicharan, is a dentist himself, and he is taken up the challenge to have a look at those services in terms of how we can roll those services out in the public sector. So I thought that's something we should share with the public as well. So
right.
I look forward.
Very good. And also people have been talking about eyesight, having tests for their eyesight and what have you. That too has been an issue. So I don't know if that in itself is part of your program with the different opticians and what have you.
Yeah, well, certainly we are looking at reducing the waiting time for the cataract surgery. There is a big backlog of cataract surgery, which can be eyesight saving surgery. So we're looking at treating with that, in as quick a time as possible. and of course we will look at screening and so on. So that's something that we can look at later on.
Like I said, you've had quite a busy month, so.
It was busy, so much to do, but again, there was so much hope, when we came into government, and, so much expectation. And of course, we expected that we'll have to work, twice the pace. And, we are prepared and willing and able to do that. And of course, the Honorable Prime Minister, as you would see, is leading the charge in terms of making sure that, as much as possible is happening, not only in the health sector, but in all the sectors.
So true.
As we go forward.
I want to thank you again, Health Minister. Keep up the good work. We'll be checking in with you periodically. Like I said, it's been a busy month, and there are some very high expectations because the citizens have been calling out for better health care for quite some time. When it comes to efficiency, when it comes to quality, when it comes to service, and I'm glad to hear, and I'm sure a lot of people are glad to hear who are locked on, watching, that this has been your top priority. This is going to be your top priority, and you are going to be on it. Thanks again so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mickie. Have a great afternoon.
Same to you. Keep up the good work. Have a good one. But there you have it, folks. That was the Health Minister, the Honorable Dr. Lakram Buddha, weighing in on the issues, talking about, what a busy month indeed. And I guess we have a responsibility as well to look at what we're doing, what we're consuming. It does take a toll on the Treasury, these non-communicable diseases, because you know someone, whether it's diabetes, whether it's high blood pressure, you name it, it's out there. Many of these things are silent killers. So one has to be very, very careful. I myself, I am guilty at that as well. Just starting back to exercise, get back in the, being on the campaign trail, of course, it will take a lot out of you, but you have to continue doing your part to ensure that we change this whole diet culture that we have. It's always easy to grab something, because when you start to even think about putting a pot together, you're like, you know what, it's just easy to grab something. I mean, it hits you in your pocket, but at the same time, it's convenient, but you do pay a price for it in the long term. So please, people, let's see if we can get together and come up with something a lot better. You may have a friend, you might say, listen, rather than hanging out or going to somewhere, let's just take a walk, take a stroll, take it easy and see how best we can get ourselves in a better and fit condition. We'll take a short break, come right back, stay locked on right here to The Observer. We'll be back.
The Excel brand delivers quality service.
I would recommend Omega Excel to everyone.
Take care of yourself, take care of your health with Omega Excel.
If Omega Excel works for me, it will work for you. Over a period of time, I started feeling stronger in my knees, where I could add more pressure.
For all top quality and affordable hardware supplies, no one beats Midland Hardware, located number 97 Eastern Main Road, Aruca. Midland stocks the #1 brands in hand tools, garden tools, water taps, power washers, generators, water pumps, kitchen and bathroom faucets, along with face basins and toilet sets, blocks, lumber, steel, sand, gravel and topsoil. Also check out Midland for steel windows and assorted designs of metal curtain rods. Everything for home and business projects. Payments via links, credit cards, online payments, or cash on delivery. WhatsApp 327-7761 or call 646-2144. Open every day from 8 a.m. From foundation to finish, it's all at Midland. Husqvarna, a global leader in outdoor power equipment, known for its high performance, durable and innovative products, tested and proven by generations of professionals. Full after sales and service support whenever you need it. Contact Provar Distributors Limited, 223-9438 to find a dealer near you. When you say TNT's construction boss, then there's only one company, Lacroix Construction Services Limited, specializing in general construction, industrial maintenance, manpower resources, transportation and lifting, and equipment rental, excavators, bulldozers, dump trucks, lighting systems, and everything for your project. We have affordable prices. Call now, 267-0000 or 431-0012. Lacroix Construction Services Limited, TNT's construction boss.
Oh gosh, this place hot. And the AC in this car not working.
Check Ryan Air. Ryan Air is ranked among the best in TNT for auto air conditioning service. They specialize in repairing and servicing all makes and models of vehicles and heavy equipment. They also stock a wide range of parts. Give them a call at 640-5828 or visit them at number 41 Cane Farm Road, Tacarigua, or email ryanairac@gmail.com. For prompt and efficient service, look no further than Ryan Air.
Limiting chronic inflammation is important for so many conditions that occur.
I had a lot of pain 4 years ago.
I used to have pain in my knees and my hip.
Taking it for arthritis.
Omega XL saved my life.
Then I started to realize, well, hey, I could use my hands, I don't have any pain.
All in all, I am pleased to say that the Omega XL has worked.
Thank you, Master Control. And we are back. We are joined by the Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs, Mr. David Nackett. Pleasant good evening to you, sir.
Good evening to you and your viewers, your listeners.
Yes.
Big brother Mickie.
How are you, sir? First of all, let me start off by congratulating you on your appointment.
Thank you very much, Mickie. Hopefully, and we know we'll work as hard as we can to make it a successful appointment.
Yes, indeed. You know, recently you spoke at an event, which of course was held at the Black Agendas Project's African Unity Conference, held at the Kwame Ture Education and Development Center, Success Laventille. And you made it quite clear and bold that it is time to teach African history in schools. Why do you think that's important?
It's very important because this is who we are. This is where we came from. We have a lot of Afro-Chinbegonians. We know for sure that our Indo-Chinbegonian brothers and sisters, in most of their denominational schools, like the Hindu schools, they are taught their history. And that's the correct thing. We have to know where we came from. And I know it sounds very cliched, but that's the reality. We have to know where we came from if we have to have an assessment of where we are. Not only where we are going, but where we are. And we haven't done that. And we keep getting taught about in schools about things that are irrelevant to us. And, the curricula, and I think Kamala Prasad Bichasta mentioned that, we have to look into all of these things that in order to progress our nation towards good nation status, we have to look at all of these things to make sure that we arrive at a place where we merge with our multiculturalism, we merge in a very happy place. So I think, yes, we need to teach African history in our schools, definitely.
Well, as a multicultural society, and we use that very loosely, we are a multicultural society, and many of us take pride in that, like myself. There's always this, feeling that once you are pro something, then you're going to be judged as being anti everything else.
And especially when it comes to black people, it has historically been so. Anytime a black man stands up for himself to be black, he's always seen as being anti-something, anti-white, anti-this, anti-that. We have to cut through that noise. In the end, we want to be pro-Trinbago, but we also want to be pro our ancestors, pro our people, to make sure, because we have to be clear. When we have a look throughout the world, black people, African people are usually at the lowest rung of that ladder. Any social economic ladder, we are the lowest rung of that ladder. And unless we realize that, we can't address it. And we need to address it as quickly as possible.
You said that, the West often told Africans and the African diaspora that revolution was a dirty word. Do you believe that perhaps the way it's perceived as something as being violent as the case may be? Because what we're hearing and what we're seeing now with this new administration is that the Honorable Kamla Prasad-Visesa, the Prime Minister, it seems to be saying, listen, it's time for a revolution, which is an economic revolution. Those who have been pulling the economic strings, those who have been benefiting and depriving the other 99% of their share, their full equity, the time for that has stopped. Can there be change without any revolution?
Well, revolution means change. So there can be no change without revolution. And she's absolutely right. And a revolution in all its forms, there can be revolution of thought, there can be revolution when it comes to how we view ourselves, our consciousness, and she's absolutely right. We have to start looking at things differently than how the West perceives us. The West always feels that they can, they're the first ones to tell us, revolution is not a good thing, it involves violence, but the West was won and formed and built by not only by revolution, but violence, extreme violence, in Africa, in the Caribbean, in India, in the Middle East. The West has formed itself, has built its wonderful societies on the backs of other people of color. And we need to know that. And that economic revolution that Kamla Prasad-Visesa is talking about, she's absolutely correct. We have to start looking at how we have new and foreign income streams. This PNM government we knew under Rowley had 9 years, no new income streams were formed, and they have left us in a mess. Where we have problems for foreign exchange, we have problems for revenue throughout the country to do what we need to do, and we have to start looking towards ourselves. And I would say what Trump has done might end up being a favor to the Caribbean. His agenda, where he has pretty much put on other tariffs, we have to start looking at our inland. We have to start looking at how we can develop our manufacturing sector, where we can start having more exports, where we can start having less imports, especially when it comes to agriculture. So that calls for a revolution of thought. It calls for a revolution in terms of how we produce, our productivity, and those are words that we need to take to heart. That revolution is not a dirty word, but is indeed a word that will take us forward into the 21st and 22nd century.
I mean, you are placed in the Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs. So we're talking about young people molding their minds, getting them prepared to face whatever challenges the world might throw at them. I mean, this is not just one-dimensional when you talk about sport. I mean, that comes with a totally positive attitude. One has to be conscious of one's surrounding and understanding the global standards and what it takes to go out there and compete among the best. When you think about it, what do you think your role basically is going to be at the end of it all, when it's all is said and done, that David Nakin went in there, and what did he produce?
And that exactly is the point. Once you decide to bring David Nakin in there, you can be guaranteed one thing. It's not going to be the normal fare. It's not going to be the normal menu. I'm going to make sure that we are the cutting edge in terms, and you said it correctly. It cannot be one-dimensional. And we saw that for the last 60 years. We saw that especially under the PNM, where for them sports was all about events, putting on events. There was no policy of continuity. There was no policies going at the earliest level into the primary schools, connecting the primary schools to the community, connecting and having sports used as the vehicle to connect the primary schools and the community, upgraded facilities in the community. All of these things. Now you give Kamla Prasad-Visesa a chance, 5 years, 10 years, and you will see how we're going to go into the communities. We're going to have better fields there, and we have to really have a revolution around how we think about community and about sport. And I like that point you made about it cannot be one-dimensional. That sports is just like a hobby. Jamaica progressed along those lines. I mean, look at Jamaica. Jamaica's high school track and field event is a global event. Everybody around the world watches Jamaica's high school track and field event. Imagine that, Brother Mikey.
And you're right. And you know, one thing we've learned, I was just speaking to the health minister, the Honorable Dr. Akram Bodo, and it's all about managing. How does one get in there and start to manage the affairs that is in the interest of the people of this country? Now, under Kamala Prasad-Visesa 2010 to 2015, we had athletes, we had Olympic stars, we had people that produce. But currently in the last Olympics, we seem to have we sent more officials than we sent athletes. There were more pictures of officials taking pictures, selfies, what have you. And the main focus was not on the athletes who were competing. I mean, it makes you wonder that how do we then produce a product so people can understand that we put our brand on our own sports, put that brand, and understand that that brand is not one that is substandard, but is one that is able to compete with every country in the world.
Well, in 2010 to 2016, we had leadership. Not only from KPB, but we had leadership in sports from Arnie Roberts. And he had put policies and so in place that were demonized, but you could see the results that came out of it. We're going to have that again. We have a Minister of Sport who is hands-on. I'm there to lend him my expertise. And we will make sure that we're going to bring policies and programs, not only from the top down, because that's how sports was viewed in Trinidad and Tobago. Only the top class high performance elites were given assistance, were given funding, and they were asked to produce. And now that has even stopped. We're going to be producing athletes from the bottom up. And then we at some point in time, we have them meet in the middle. And that's the ideal that we are looking for. So while we are looking into all the national programs, the national teams, we also have to be working from the grassroots communities, coming out the way up to be able to feed those national programs. And that's how you produce world-class athletes. It's not rocket science. It's not that complicated unless you don't have the political will. The political will must be there, the plan must be in place, and we use what is most vital to countries like Trinidad and Tobago, which is our human resources. We get everybody involved. We get them involved to the point where they feel invested in producing quality athletes, quality citizens for Trinidad and Tobago.
You know, when you talk like that, really and truly, it gives us a sense of hope. I mean, I'm sure people who are locked on, you know, and young people are inspired. And I think that's what they're looking for, that focus to be placed where it needs to be placed. You know, it's not a matter of having people just say, listen, you know, based on your natural talent, see how best you could make out. You know, you're already gone to the Olympics and the check is still here in Trinidad. All of these things, I mean, we've seen it fall apart before our very eyes. But that sense of hope, that sense of giving people that inspiration to say, listen, you have what it takes, but we are going to help you along the way, rather than just try to see how best we can reach out to one or two individuals. You know, what basically would your main policy be when it comes to addressing the management of these athletes?
Accountability. You remember how we are set up in Trinidad and Tobago? We have our NSOs, our National Sporting Organization.
Right.
They have to be accountable for their books, for all of that, and they have to be able to buy into the philosophy that the Ministry of Sport will produce, will have, in making sure that sport touches everyone, from the top class, high performance athletes to the people who are just interested in keeping healthy, being healthy, becoming student athletes. We have to make sure that we account for all of those people. And so we're looking for accountability, transparency, and cooperation from our NSOs. And these are sporting organizations who are tasked with the responsibility of pushing our athletes forward, our programs forward. They have to step up to the table as well, because we intend to be involved in all of the programs, captain and have that participatory level that we once had, where everybody was playing sport. Now it's going down and down, so we have to cast a very wide net through the primary schools, the secondary schools, the communities, where we try to get as many people involved as possible. Then we make sure that we get people involved in positive things going throughout the community.
You've been interacting with these young people, even of course as the shadow minister. What are some of the things that you've been confronted with, across Trinidad and Tobago when dealing with, how best to help these young individuals?
Well, Mikey, there was a palpable sense of hopelessness under the parents. People who I remember, because I would come back and forth to Trinidad and Tobago, who were excellent sportsmen, cricketers, footballers, netballers. They lost hope under the TNM because they never saw any kind of policy in place where there's a pathway they can go from primary to secondary to the university to professional. They never saw that. The TNM was never able to help them with that. There were no ideas. They were trying to copy-paste events. But now, confronting them, I hear their complaints. I hear they want the fields in their communities upgraded. I got a nice video from a young man in Diego Martin. He was telling me that he cut that field every Sunday morning so that they can play. They can play on that field.
Wow.
And he wanted to know if we could upgrade that field so he could get more people involved. When we do that, we bring back that sense of community, Brother Mikey. What that does, it lowers the crime level in those communities because people come together around football, cricket, netball, basketball. They come around that and they get to know each other, embrace each other, look out for each other. So it's a lot. Listen, if we use sport like the European countries do, Mikey, can you imagine? Should you stop sport, professional football, or at all levels in England, Belgium, Switzerland, you're going to have chaos. You're going to have chaos. They recognize how vital sport is to the national consciousness and national upliftment and national growth. They are very conscious of that, Europe, and we haven't yet become conscious of that.
And you're right about that. So we look forward. I mean, I know there's some things that you want to implement right away. I know, of course, that you really and truly want to put your stamp on this along with the minister and get things going. What are any events that are coming up soon that we can look forward to?
Well, we have the game against St. Kitts Nevis on the 6th. We urge everyone to come out support the national team. There's also the secondary schools track and field event coming up as well in June. Stay tuned for that. The guy there, the president there, is a very hands-on guy. Has messaged me quite a few times. So we have a lot of events coming on, and we're going to have more of a public awareness of those events so that the public, the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, can be involved like they used to be long ago, Brother Mikey, when they had the Southern Games, the North-South tactics, all of these kind of things that we need to bring back to engender that love, that sense of patriotism, nationalism for the country. We're going to be bringing all of those things back.
All right. Any closing comments? Go right ahead.
I say to Trinidad and Tobago, come on board from now. Not when we are close to becoming part of a big tournament or so. Come on board from now in your community, in your schools, volunteerism. Be part of your child's sporting excellence. Be part of their upbringing. And we're going to be using sport to do exactly that. And we just encourage everyone to come on board. Kamala Prasad Bisata has a vision for the country, and sport is a big part of that.
Thank you so much. We'll be checking in with you periodically. Best of luck. Get in there and make that difference.
Thank you, Brother Mikey. Loving you.
Take care. Right. There you have it, folks. The Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Sport, Mr. Senator David Nakid. Very important role. I mean, we have seen, it's kind of strange. It's like we found ourselves in the social twilight zone. You remember Keishan, was it Keishan Walcott? Was it in there? Keishan Walcott and so many athletes that made us proud in that time period, 2010 to 2015. And of course, the Olympics that was just concluded, what was that, last year? I think it was last year, if I'm not mistaken, Master Control. Yeah. And you saw more officials going than athletes. We've heard so many reports, so many people that were disappointed. We as citizens, of course, looking on and saying, my gosh, can we get anything? Can we win anything? Is anything going to happen? And after every event that we didn't achieve anything, we said we look forward to the next one and perhaps the next one. And it's good to feel that, you know, finally there's something or some program that is going to be, you know, governed by people who understand. And I think it was a great choice by putting Mr. Nakidin, a former national footballer, and of course, Mr. Philip Watts, who knows the community and has always interacted with young people. So we look on, we cheer on, but of course, we need to support. We want to make this a success. We want to get over those days where definitely it seemed as though things that were rewarded for absolutely not getting anything done is over. So we get in there and we support. Take a short break, a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
The Excel brand delivers quality service.
I would recommend Omega XL to everyone.
Take care of yourself, take care of your health with Omega XL.
If Omega XL works for me, it will work for you. Over a period of time, I started feeling stronger in my knees where I could add more pressure.
For all top quality and affordable hardware supplies, no one beats Midland Hardware, located number 97 Eastern Main Road, Aruka. Midland stocks the #1 brands in hand tools, garden tools, water tanks, power washers, generators, water pumps, kitchen and bathroom faucets, along with face basins and toilet sets, blocks, lumber, steel, sand, gravel and topsoil. Also check out Midland for steel windows and assorted designs of metal curtain rods. Everything for home and business projects. Payments via links, credit cards, online payments, or cash on delivery. WhatsApp 327-7761 or call 646-2144. Open every day from 8 a.m. From foundation to finish, it's all at Midland. Husqvarna, a global leader in outdoor power equipment, known for its high performance, durable and innovative products, tested and proven by generations of professionals. Full after sales and service support whenever you need it. Contact Provar Distributors Limited, 223-9438 to find a dealer near you. When you say TNT's construction boss, then there's only one company, Lacroix Construction Services Limited, specializing in general construction, industrial maintenance, manpower resources, transportation and lifting, and equipment rental, excavators, bulldozers, dump trucks, lighting systems, and everything for your project. We have affordable prices. Call now, 267-0000 or 431-0012. Lacroix Construction Services Limited, TNT's construction boss.
Oh gosh, this place hot. And the AC in this car not working.
Check Ryan Air. Ryan Air is ranked among the best in TNT for auto air conditioning service. They specialize in repairing and servicing all makes and models of vehicles and heavy equipment. They also stock a wide range of parts. Give them a call at 640-5828 or visit them at number 41 Kane Farm Road, Tacarigua, or email ryanairac@gmail.com. For prompt and efficient service, look no further than Ryan Air.
And we are back. Thank you, Master Control. You know, we are on the top of everything that is taking place, and those of you who were affected by the fact of the no-show of the Man Vibes Cartel last night. So much was taking place. The fans were sorely disappointed when the dancehall star failed to take the stage, and people are hearing all sorts of things and, well, they're seeing all sorts of things that, what's going on, they need to get a refund, they need to get this. So, what are you protected, well, how are you protected, I should say, when it comes to all of this? I mean, it's your hard-earned cash. You know, it didn't fall off of a tree, and you spend your money and you expect to be entertained. And the role and the role of the promoter is to ensure not only the safety at these events, but provide, you know, reliable and honest in their dealings to give you the fun and enjoyment that you have paid for. Joining us is a man who can clear the air on that, is attorney at law Robert Vincent Charles. Good evening to you, Mr. Charles.
Hi, Mikey. It's an honor and privilege to be invited to speak with you.
It's honor. If you can talk up a little louder, I know that he just came from church, folks, so he's in that, you know, laid back.
Mikey, first of all,
yes.
it's an honor and privilege to have been invited to appear on your show. Thank you for the invitation.
It's a pleasure to have you on, my friend. So tomorrow we expect that there's going to be some problems. Now, let's say I purchase a ticket at a store, at a venue.
Yes.
I want back my money. Now, I'm going back to the store tomorrow. So listen, I purchased it here. I don't want to hear any talk about anybody saying, well, listen, that's the promoter has your money, you may have to find it, but I came and I gave you my money, I want my money back because I didn't see Vibes Cartel. Tell me,
Okay.
do I have any rights?
So it's not as simple as that. I have to start by saying that it's not legal advice,
Right.
but I am prepared to comment on it.
Thank you.
There's not enough information in the public domain at the minute, but you have to break it down into three distinct sets of parties here. You have the artist, then you have the promoter, and then you have the patron.
Right.
So from the patron's perspective, they could have purchased a physical ticket, or they may have purchased online. Both of them, albeit representing the same entity, being the promoter and the artist, may have different terms and conditions. So the first thing I would look at is where I purchased it. If I purchased it online, oftentimes the vendor would have terms and conditions for the purchase, and that would basically indicate what your rights and responsibilities would be. If you bought a physical ticket, oftentimes on the back of that ticket there'd be terms and conditions as well. So that's the starting point. The second thing to look at is what are the actual terms and conditions under which you purchase that ticket. Now, the bog standard clause that's often used repeatedly on printed tickets or sometimes websites is that, you know, no refunds,
Right.
no exchanges, these sorts of things. In a strict sense, that would be the formal legal arrangement between the patron and the promoter. But the courts on many occasions have examined that relationship to see if in fact the conditions as between the patron and the promoter had been properly followed, or in other words, was it fulfilled? And in certain circumstances, an award can be given back to a patron who did not receive that which they purchased. Does that assist you?
Well, it does, but you see, it seems to go right back to the point of, did anyone read the fine print? Because I'm excited, I get my ticket, you know, I don't have time to read anything in the back there. All I know is that, listen, I'm going to the concert, I'm going to see this artist, I want to be entertained. I didn't read the fine print.
Right.
I didn't.
Right. So remember, you would be asking someone to return your money based on a contractual relationship. Yes?
Right.
So whilst I understand the frustration of parties saying, well, you know, I'm not business with all of that. I came to see Vibes Cartel didn't show up. So I want my money back. There's lots of other permutations that you have to look at. Vibes Cartel would have been the headline act. Yes?
Right.
We can, and we've seen from social media, that the actual event did go ahead as scheduled. and there were performances, perhaps not all of the performances that was advertised. I find it curious, of course, that the actual promoter himself or themselves didn't place into the public domain the fact that Five Star Hotel was not appearing. It was actually news media that brought it to the attention of the public. But be that as it may, there is a cause for saying, look, I purchased a ticket to see a particular artist and that artist did not appear. Yes?
So,
the difficulty arises in who's really at fault there. Yes?
okay, so you're saying, okay, so I want to get this clear because it seems as though so far we're leaning more towards the promoter finding some sort of loophole or, exit route because, listen, he says, listen, the show is going to go on. My thing is, I don't care about the show if the featured artist, the main artist, isn't there. But the thing about it, nowhere in the ticket, if I read the fine print, states that if the main attraction isn't there, I can automatically get a refund. It could be that once the show takes place, regardless of who's on stage, a show did take place. There was a show. Just that who you wanted to see wasn't there. They didn't appear. Am I correct?
Correct. So again, Mike, if you look at even the cast that's there, etc., it's my understanding, and again, this is not advice, this is from what's in the public domain.
Right.
There were other artists who had actually come into Trinidad and Tobago and did not perform. Yes?
True.
So, in those circumstances, the promoter might be able to say, well, look, I did what I was supposed to do, and others decided not to do what they were supposed to do. So you understand what I meant? You broke it into different, the three distinct parties. You have the artist, you have the promoter, and then you have the patron. The patron, their source of redress is as against the promoter. Yes, it's up to then the promoter to say, hey, let me go back to the artists themselves. And they would have had contractual obligations between themselves. But the circular argument comes back exactly as you put it very succinctly there, that a show did in fact go on. People did attend, and it would be very difficult for a patron to have attended a concert and expect a full refund.
You're right, because the promoter made it quite clear, the narrative wasn't about, because the main star did not show up, we have decided then that we are going to cancel the show. No, the show goes on. That he made it quite clear, there will be a show, the show will go on. So basically putting the onus, is that now putting the onus on the patron as to you can attend or you have a choice not to attend, but there's going to be a show?
Correct. I think there's two definite, distinct areas to look at. One is the contractual legal obligation that a promoter might have via ticket sales. And then, of course, there's the public relations side of things. If you're a promoter that is bringing such a world-renowned act, plus there was, Sizzler and other artists who were headliners in their own respect.
Yeah.
The PR side of it would also say, look, you would want to do business again in the future, and would a patron support you in future endeavors based on how you handle this? Now, there had been, from my understanding, some controversy for an earlier date with this artist, and that is coming from the videos in the social media side of things from the artist himself.
Yes.
So I think that there is a lot to be. It's like a fishing line that's knotted up, and you have to take your time, your patience, and pull it apart. But I think the real answer comes back to let patrons look at what the terms and conditions are on the ticket or the e-ticket that they purchased. I would go back to the persons who had, if I had not attended, I would go back to the ticket outlet and ask what is the promoter prepared to do for persons who did not attend the concert. Now it's different to the patron who said, I went, but I just didn't get what I expected.
What you expected, right. Now, when you talk about online, like, for example, in North America with Paymaster and these other places, I think it's Ticketmaster, sorry, with Ticketmaster, which is done online, they actually hold the money.
Correct.
Right? Unless there's some contractual arrangement where the promoter would need some of that money to go ahead and whether infrastructure, whatever the case may be. But Ticketmaster holds that money, I believe, for a period of time. So you do have that sense of protection, legal protection, when dealing with perhaps online purchases.
Correct.
Okay. Now, we don't have that here. So if you had to read the ticket, I'm sure it's like, if it's an act of God, let's say there was a storm or something that, immediately...
Sorts of things that really egregious or emergent circumstances of emergency that would negate a refund, as it were.
Exactly. However, if it has to do with some financial entanglement or disagreement, that definitely is not an act of God.
No, in a strict legal sense, it is not.
It is not.
Yet, from what's in the public domain, it appears to be a discrepancy between, final payment and whatnot.
That's right.
Experience in my previous incantation, we had brought in many artists. I had worked at STEM many years ago, and we were, the forerunners of a lot of these very big artists coming to Trinidad. And it comes back to the legal arrangements you would have made with the management team of an artist. Because, as I said, it came into the public domain from the artist as opposed to the promoter. So I'm sure time will tell as to what will unravel. But in a strict sense, your legal obligation as a promoter could be limited strictly to the terms and conditions of sale, but there's nothing stopping a party from seeking formal legal advice.
Yeah, but our culture, and you know this, Robert, our culture is one where, there's a lot of talk, but there's not much action when it comes to people who go out and advocate for, some sense of accountability when it comes to making a purchase and things didn't go the way they expected. Most of the times it's like, you ain't gonna catch me again, once bitten, twice shy. But without getting too legal, I want to make it a little technical here. We have two doors, door number one, door number two. Door number one, chances are I can get a refund. Door number two, just open it and, ride out into the sunset and forget about it. If you had to give me advice, what door should I choose?
Without, again, offering legal advice, door number one.
Okay. Okay, I'm listening to you, but I'm looking at so many things seems to be stacked against, the patron.
Well, I would also say this, Mikey. If I purchased, and some of those tickets were extremely expensive.
Oh, yes.
If I purchased the very extremely expensive package, and even the person that purchased the what you call the general tickets, both of them would have had a legitimate expectation that the headline act would have appeared. Yes? And both of them, regardless of the cost of what they paid, would have been entitled to have attended a concert that was advertised to have certain artists appear at. It's now a matter of fact that those artists did not appear. Yes?
Yeah.
That's why I would say I would lean more towards door number one. But again, time will tell. Let's see if
Yeah, and you're right. And from this perspective, we don't have all the information as far as the contractual arrangement, because of course, based on experience, that there are entertainers who would say, listen, if you didn't meet the deadline, it's not my fault. I really don't have to give you back anything.
But again, I think that because we do enough of these things, that legislative cater for these sorts of situations.
There you go.
We're moving forward rapidly, you know, and we're talking hundreds and thousands in this case. You know, we're talking almost 10 million TT dollars on an artist.
That's right. Which is interesting, you know, Robert. You didn't want to get legal, but you sure got political. You got political.
Time has come for legislation to come in.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. Really and truly, there needs to be something to protect the patrons. I mean, you can't just fork out $3,000-4,000, and at the end of it all, what you expected just simply was not delivered, and you walk away from that. That's not fair.
Yes.
It's not fair. I want to thank you so much. I know you want to get out of those church clothes. Thank you so much, my friend. Keep up the good work, and I will be checking with you on other issues.
God bless.
God bless you. Thank you so much. Hey, take a short break. We'll be right back here on The Observer.
The Excel brand delivers quality service.
I would recommend Omega Excel to everyone.
Take care of yourself, take care of your health with Omega XL. If Omega XL works for me, it will work for you. Over a period of time, I started feeling stronger in my knee where I could add more pressure.
Husqvarna, a global leader in outdoor power equipment, known for its high performance, durable and innovative products, tested and proven by generations of professionals. Full after-sales and service support whenever you need it. Contact Provar Distributors Limited, 223-9438 to find a dealer near you. For all top quality and affordable hardware supplies, no one beats Midland Hardware, located number 97 Eastern Main Road, Aruka. Midland stocks the #1 brands in hand tools, garden tools, water tanks, power washers, generators, water pumps, kitchen and bathroom faucets, along with face basins and toilet sets, blocks, lumber, steel, sand, gravel and topsoil. Also check out Midland for steel windows and assorted designs of metal curtain rods. Everything for home and business projects. Payments via links, credit cards, online payments, or cash on delivery. WhatsApp 327-7761 or call 646-2144. Open every day from 8 a.m. From foundation to finish, it's all at Midland. When you say TNT's construction boss, then there's only one company, Lacroix Construction Services Limited, specializing in general construction, industrial maintenance, manpower resources, transportation and lifting, and equipment rental, excavators, bulldozers, dump trucks, lighting systems, and everything for your project. We have affordable prices. Call now, 267-0000 or 431-0012. Lacroix Construction Services Limited, TNT's construction boss.
We are back. Thank you, Master Control. And don't forget, folks, Probiotic XL combines 3 innovative strategies to restore balance to your digestive system. Probiotic XL contains 11 important probiotic strains, protective shield technology, and clearphage that all together make it one of the best probiotics on the market. Probiotic XL promotes digestive health and immunity by supporting growth of good bacteria and neutralizing harmful ones. Before we go to our good friend, Mr. Alan Ferguson, Master Control, the post-cabinet conference on Friday, something interesting by the Honorable Prime Minister Kamla Prasad-Desessa. Hit me there.
To tell all boards who are refusing to resign, and the CEOs and management of state enterprises who are busy signing off contracts and hiring friends and family, I send them and tell them every contract they have entered into will be sent straight to the Anti-Corruption Investigation Bureau. So every person and every company involved will be investigated. This is the most shameless type of behavior I've ever seen exhibited during a change of government. It is overt, it is bull-faced, and trying to eat a food down to the wire and after you pass the finish line. It doesn't work right.
Thank you so much indeed. And that was some very strong words. Shameless, They want to eat their food even after the finish line, they cross the finish, and she's so correct. Joining us is a man who is no stranger to the Observer. Let me say a pleasant good evening to President of the Scrap Iron Dealers Association of TNT, Mr. Alan Ferguson. Good evening to you, Mr. Ferguson.
Good evening to you, Mickie, and good evening to your listeners and your viewers.
Yes, indeed. It's always a pleasure to have you on. So much taking place. It's been quite a week for you. And I was there, of course, to view it firsthand. Finally, according to you, finally there seems to be some sunlight that's coming in, that sunlight, that ray of hope that is going to be hitting the industry in a very positive way. Share with us, I mean, your takeaway from last week's meeting with the Honorable Kama Maharaj, the Minister of Trade, Investment and Tourism, along with Dr. Neil Gosine.
Well, what I could say was a peaceful meeting. It was very tough. I mean, for the longest while we keep in meeting and they was promising things and we wasn't seeing nothing that they promised, but I think that this meeting gave us the industry back a little light, gave us back a little hope, because I mean to say he is a person who understands business and export and understand all these things. And I think that we wasn't looking at it as how he looked at it, because he said to us that why an industry like this, where we taking things from Trinidad and exporting, we have it right here. Why it is all these problems we're having, and we can't fix it. I mean, an industry that they don't need to bring in things to export back out of Trinidad. We have all the scrap and all the recycling material that we could export here. That is one thing that he told to me and my team, and I know you hear that too. And it was so refreshing to know that, if you have a minister on your side, it feels very refreshing for me, by the way.
Yeah, my major takeaway from this was the fact that those folks who have been weighing in and talking about, criminal elements in the scrap iron industry and the stealing of copper and all of these things, not knowing the facts. But there was a better understanding, and even the minister understood, of course, that here it is that yourself and others have been begging, literally begging, pleading for some sense of oversight, to have some regulatory body that would be there assigned to ensure that the checks and balances are kept. And you've been asking for that. You've never hid that. You never ran away from that. You've been asking in a very responsible manner that, listen, we want to have things where there are checks and balances, where we can account for whatever. And if there's anything wrong, weed it out and get it out of the industry. And I think that was the major takeaway from all of this. I mean, now hearing this from the minister, that this is something that you and the industry should not be begging for.
Yeah, when he said that it was so refreshing and all things, I gotta tell you, first time I speak with a minister and he is so pleasant, I feel so good, because, first minister that I speak with, and he was agreeing with everything I said, because he recognizes that if we want to do good business and bringing people in this business, encourage people, we must not be able to stall the industry. The industry in a way for the last 9 to 10 years stall. And I am saying that we was doing so good in this industry. We are nine members, we were doing so good. We was exporting the majority of containers out of the two ports, container containers. I mentioned that all today. And look at it now, look at what's taking place. People want to get out. So much of people want to get out of the business because of what was taking place. And to hear the minister say, listen to me, let us fix the problem. Let us fix it. Let me do damages. Let me fix it. And I was pleasing with them words. I was pleasing to hear, bring back the thing that you think that be able to fix the problem, bring it back. You know, send it back, send it to me, and we will sit down and fix the problem. I was pleased to hear all of these things to her. I was pleased to hear how we speak with us. I was pleased to hear a lot of things that we see. I mean, it's like all this question in my head, and I feel powerful, I feel wonderful, I feel good. But since I met with the minister, I mean, I get a lot of calls with members and people who say, I think this will be it, we will be outside. And I hope and I pray that everything will work out to this Mickie. I think nothing can be worse than the last 3 to 4, 5 years that this industry faced. We faced, you know what they did with us? They look like they call all of us. They call us and tell us they have a tunnel with chairs and food and things to eat. And they invite all the scrap dealers to come and have a meeting. And while that was going on, they invite all of us. They went and asked America for one of them big bombing, them playing with this bomb plate.
Yeah.
And they pulled one of that on our head. And that is what we was going through for the last 3 to 5 years. It's sad to see it, but let me tell you, it was nothing good was going on to our industry. Nothing. We had taken this industry from zero and bring it in such a beautiful place. A beautiful place where people could have do such a wonderful business. And I'm saying, yes, something happened. Something happened.
And you're right. You're right, Mr. Ferguson. And you know, there's something that you can meet with individuals and get an idea of just how sincere they are, whether they're real or not. And I can tell you, and I'm sharing, of course, with the viewing public who's looking at this program right now, wherever you are, that the trade minister is a very serious and genuine individual. And the reason I can tell you this, it's very rare that you would hear a minister give advice on saying, why not try this? Do you know that in North America, they have such and such, and that if you could access that, you can also get rid of it because they have no means of getting rid of it, and you can use it, you can recycle it. I mean, he was given ideas as to what you can do to expand on the industry. Also, he did his homework. He really and truly did his homework along with Minister Gosai, because first of all, he started off by saying, listen, I saw your figures. And your figures some years ago was way high. And now I would like to know, and he's asking, how is it that you were producing so much and doing so much of business that today you have fallen under this mark? And that says a lot. It says that he's on the ball, he understands, he did his homework, he did his research, and it shows that his financial and business background is something that is quite a big asset to his job. And that to me said quite a lot about him.
Yes, and as I say, that is why I tell you that it was so refreshing and was so pleasing that, as I tell you, I come out and I tell Trinidad and Tobago, this meeting was a very successful meeting for us. I mean, it was something that I very appreciate. And while I was out the meeting, I was to mention something. And I want also to mention to the Prime Minister, I want to thank the Honorable Prime Minister for giving us a minister that we could work with, a minister that we could see our way with, a minister that understands trade, a minister that understands business, a minister that understands people, a minister with a talk to people, a minister who could make people even laugh and all that he was in the meeting. So I'm saying is that I want to thank the Honorable Prime Minister for giving us a minister that we could work, that this industry could come back and top. This industry could now say that we could employ thousands of people to work with us. What this industry could say we could bring back all these yards that closed down in the last 3 years. This industry could say, listen to me, we have 25,000 people, we could look forward to getting more people. Based on all what I explained to him and all too, we have projects, we have things that we want to bring out and do for this industry that will thousands of people will get employment. And this is what we explained to the minister, and I think the minister was shocked to know that there's so much this industry could do. We want to do paper, we want to export paper, we want to export plastic, we want to export oil, we want to export tires. We want to make this industry, this Trinidad and Tobago, a free society from garbage. Where we pay money to bury rubbish. We will recycle it and bring in foreign exchange. And he was pleased to hear that this industry does bring in foreign exchange. So all these things I am telling you is that if we put all these things together and we work to build back this industry, and I'm ready to work, and I know based on I think that Trinidad need to use you are as a person now working with the scrap iron industry, and you will be dealing with local and international people that help us to work to bring in business for us. You will be one of the persons that help and work with us to bring in people with big mills, people who want to invest money in the recycling business. You will have that responsibility. I'm telling Trinidad and Tobago that no, and I am saying that I am ready to work with this government to make this industry one of the number one industry in the Caribbean and in Trinidad. Because you know something that people doesn't know aware of, and I told the minister, is that the Caribbean is bringing the material to Trinidad. We is the Mecca in the Caribbean. We is the one that have all the necessary things to export the material out to these big markets like India, Turkey, all up in China and all over the place. We have the market to export. And why you want to hold back us? Why you want to keep us from exporting by making us have to go through all this kind of red line, this red tape, that every minute we have to do business, we have to spend 7 weeks to export material. Every week we export, we have to wait 7 more weeks to export again. You think I could be business? I come like I have a grocery, and I open my grocery this week, and the next 7 weeks I have to close up my grocery store. That making sense?
No, it
That
doesn't.
makes no sense at all.
It doesn't make sense. Yeah. And I think people need to understand that, for no reason, there's no justification, there's no logic as to why there's so much bureaucracy and so much red tape. Absolutely none whatsoever. However, if you listen to the language, and I want to stress on this, when you have a minister that is telling you this is what you need to look at to expand your business, compared to someone who would say, listen, this doesn't make sense. You've been into this business too long. You're not seeing your way. Why don't you just shut it down? It means that those individuals may have had a hidden agenda, an ulterior motive to sell out the entire industry to people who were seeking to take control of it. And that is the difference that you're seeing now.
Yes, Mickie, you hit the hammer straight on the head there. You missed nothing. You hit that straight. It went straight inside you. Exactly what you're talking about is just what was trying to happen.
Yeah.
But you see, God don't sleep.
Yeah. What is the next move? I know that you have some work to do, and of course you have to do a follow-up and send the information. One of the things I know that you said that you just didn't want it to come from you, but from other stakeholders who could add, what their concerns were. So once that is taken place, then you can simply go and submit everything and get the change that is needed across the board.
Yeah, Mickie, we are gonna already start the work. We just need to elaborate a little bit on the points on them. And I say by the end of this week coming here, we will be able to furnish the minister with all the points that we have and the things that we feel like to have this industry going back. I think that we will, by the end of the week, we will have it, We've done already getting in to some different stakeholders. And we could be ready by the end of the week, Mickie, to call to it.
Definitely. I know that's a priority for you to make sure and get those low-hanging fruits, taken care of immediately and have what needs to be implemented done as quickly as possible. Closing comments, go right ahead. The floor is yours.
Yeah, well, Mickie, all I want to say, I have a friend I know that he's working hard with me. I want to tell Dexter Griffith, I want to appreciate the leaving out the other country and coming to Trinidad and working with me. And I tell him have some patience and we'll be on top. I just want to thank him because he's working hard with me and all my team that working hard with me for to bring back this industry. I want to thank him also, my vice president, everybody who working with us hard, my secretary, the association secretary. I want to thank she's working hard. My communication person and all also. Everybody working hard to make sure this industry go back. I want to thank them. And for the last 3-4 years, they with me. No matter things was in the red line, they stick with me. And a lot of people don't know you was doing a good advice to me and helping and assistance. I want to also thank you because I think we're in a good place now and things will work out. We just need to work hard to bring back this industry. And I think it will, based on the endurance and the consistency of me and my team to make this industry go back as high as exporting the most containers out of Trinidad in the 2 ports that we could be able to see some success. I want to thank you for having me on, and I want to thank you viewers for listening and watching,
And we are going to hold you to that you can get that submitted as quickly as possible at the end of the week to the minister because he's waiting. He's just as ready to do it as you. So please, as they say on the ground, no sticking. Get it.
Yeah, for sure, Mikey, for sure.
All right. Thanks a lot, and all the best to you, and keep up the good work.
Yes.
Thank you. Master Control, I think there was another clip by the Honorable Prime Minister. And then, of course, we are going to open the lines, take a quick break, open the lines. Remember, the direct number 225-9790 and 494-0938 is the WhatsApp number. So if you want to make a WhatsApp call, we know that many of you are still getting over that whole economic issue from the last regime. So your WhatsApp calls 494-0938 and direct calls 225-9790. Play that, please, Master Control.
I turn now to works. Requests have also been made for information from the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure. The Minister is here with us. It's a shame that billions of dollars, over $10 million, have been spent over the last 9 years, and we can hardly find a good road in the country. Flooding remains rampant. I've asked the Minister of Works and Infrastructure to request and get audited the test results for roadworks done in Manzanilla, the Kumoto Highway extension, the Point 14 highway from Otaheite to Labray, the highway widening in Chaguanas, and the new O'Mara Road. We need to get test results there, Minister, because those roads are failing or have failed. I turn now to works.
The Excel brand delivers quality service.
I would recommend Omega Excel to everyone.
Take care of yourself, take care of your health with Omega Excel. If Omega Excel works for me, it will work for you. Over a period of time, I started feeling stronger in my knee where I could add more pressure.
Oh gosh, this place hot. And the AC in this car not working.
Check Ryan Air. Ryan Air is ranked among the best in TNT for auto air conditioning service. They specialize in repairing and servicing all makes and models of vehicles and heavy equipment. They also stock a wide range of parts. Give them a call at 640-5828 or visit them at number 41 King Farm Road, Tacarigua, or email ryanairac@gmail.com. For prompt and efficient service, look no further than Ryan Air. For all top quality and affordable hardware supplies, no one beats Midland Hardware, located number 97 Eastern Main Road, Aruca. Midland stocks the #1 brands in hand tools, garden tools, water tanks, power washers, generators, water pumps, kitchen and bathroom faucets, along with face basins and toilet sets, blocks, lumber, steel, sand, gravel and topsoil. Also check out Midland for steel windows and assorted designs of metal curtain rods. Everything for home and business projects. Payments via links, credit cards, online payments, or cash on delivery. WhatsApp 327-7761 or call 646-2144. Open every day from 8 a.m. From foundation to finish, it's all at Midland. When you say TNT's construction boss, then there's only one company, Lacroix Construction Services Limited, specializing in general construction, industrial maintenance, manpower resources, transportation and lifting, and equipment rental, excavators, bulldozers, dump trucks, lighting systems, and everything for your project. We have affordable prices. Call now 267-0000 or 431-0012. Lacroix Construction Services Limited, TNT's construction boss. Husqvarna, a global leader in outdoor power equipment, known for its high performance, durable and innovative products, tested and proven by generations of professionals. Full after sales and service support whenever you need it. Contact Provar Distributors Limited, 223-9438 to find a dealer near you.
And we are back. The lines are open, 225-9790. Again, 225-9790. Or if you want to make a WhatsApp call, 494-0938. You heard the Honorable Dr. Lakram Budo, or the Minister of Health, speak about the plans. He had quite a busy month. You heard, of course, from the Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs, David Nackett. You heard those of you who went to your concert or didn't go to the concert with Vibes Cartel. You heard Robert Vincent Charles, attorney at law, saying, listen, pursue it. You don't know. And of course, we just heard from the president of the Scrap Iron Dealers Association, Mr. Alan Ferguson. It's been quite a week. And of course, many of you have been talking about former Minister National Security Fitzgerald Hines. What did he go to collect at the Ministry of National Security? If it was a check, according to him, you mean there's no driver, there's no courier? Since when ministers are getting paid via check? And if so, why? And did he sign for the check? Did he give his ID card or driver's license? Did he sign the book? So again, why was it so important that he himself had to go? According to him, he's attorney at law. I guess he's busy if he's not working on a case, working on a brief, whatever the case may be. But he found himself there at the Ministry of National Security. So again, there's a lot of things taking place. Never a dull moment in Trinidad and Tobago. Let's see who we have here coming in.
Yes, good evening, Mickie.
Good evening, sir.
If I go to collect a check, why are they going to collect it now for? He wasn't the Minister of National Security. So long they take the process and check for he. And why are they go there? Nice question to ask.
Yeah, because the last minister was Marvin Gonzalez.
Right. And furthermore, why this hop, skip and jump by the Commissioner of Police? 1 minute you hear a matter filed for investigation and the next thing he say he get a report. What are you going to decide? Then playing musical chairs in the ministry there? I mean in the police service? Or they conveniently go after certain people and leave other people is used to run aground?
No, I mean, people who are weighing in, they have all right to weigh in, because let me ask you something. Had this been perhaps something with Anand Ramlogan or say Gerard Ramdeen went to pick up something, you think that would just be left just like that?
Boy, it's hook, line and sinker for them. Jail time too. Them done arresting and interrogating and all the other thing, you know that? There's no mixed matters with that, you know. Boy, the police in our mess, they have political puppets inside of that police. You damn well know in there, Mickie. And you can't weed them out so because they do the thing conveniently. And that's why you're not seeing the process of law taking place in this country where anybody that under suspicion or anything on the other side of the PNM will not being investigated. That's why you're see here now. Only on the UNC side. It's a kind of Hitler kind of movement in this country. Have a good day, Mickie.
Thank you. Very interesting. Had it been anybody else, perhaps on the UNC side, what do you think would have happened? Would there have been warrants already to go and search their, their homes? That embarrassing. Neighbors watching, this one watching, family watching. But a man just simply came after and said, you know what, I went to pick up a check and that's it. No dog bark, don't ask me no questions. That's just how it is. How you feel about that? Let me know. 225-9790, or you can WhatsApp, send your WhatsApp calls, 494-0938, 494-0938. Again, you heard, of course, the Minister of Health talking about having these kidneys, dialysis machines, all of these things working around the clock, which makes sense. I mean, we paying for it anyhow. Why somebody can't go 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night and get that, taken care of? You heard the Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs, David Nackett, saying that it is time to get our athletes back up on the world stage, get them back up. Robert Vincent Charles, attorney at law, weighing in on this whole thing about refunds. What do you have as far as protection as a patron? Because last night it wasn't good at all. People storming the stage, who pelting bottles, who fighting, riot police, people getting licks. I mean, it just was not good. And of course, the president of the Scrap Iron Dealers Association, Mr. Alan Ferguson, saying that, he believes that better days right around the corner with the new Minister of Trade and this administration, thanking the Honorable Prime Minister for picking a minister that understands and has some background in business and knowing how things should be done. Pleasant good evening, welcome. Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, good evening, go ahead. Yes.
First time caller.
Hey, welcome.
Right. Mickie, I want to take this thing very seriously because I started a campaign to pressure the police into investigating Mr. Hines. Because Mickie, the police tried to say this afternoon that nobody made a report. Mickie, I can remember very, very, very recent that a gentleman went on Facebook and say all PNM supporters, he gonna tie strap them and he was charged. So do we have to go and make a report of this situation? And if, let me just say, if Mr. Hines is talking the truth, Mickie, is that the procedure to collect a check in Trinidad and Tobago? Why is not naming the permanent secretary who gave him the check?
Well, what type of relationship does he have with this permanent secretary?
Exactly. And to my knowing, to collect a check, especially a government check, you have to sign for receiving. Did he sign for receiving this check? Is it coincidence that he got the check while the whole cabinet was in meeting? So many questions to answer. And nobody seems to be making the Newsday tried to contact the two permanent secretaries in the ministry. They did not respond. Mickie, if this was a little black boy from Laventille or a UNC, all now this plaster all over the news. But everybody think because Mr. Hines threatened legal action, we must stop. But that's what they keep doing us. Commit legal action. For you to prove Newsday defaming you, first you have to prove them wrong.
Yeah.
And Mr. Sturge said on two occasions, one, a report was made to the police, one, and two, he admitted that this situation happened. So Mickie, this is a very, very serious allegation, you know.
Yes, it is.
And I started a campaign, I started today already on a frequency. The police need to investigate this situation and bring some answers because first thing first, what the check was for. Even if, all right, let me give the benefit of the doubt. He was right. What was the check was for? Is that taxpayers' dollars? So we need to know how much money was on that check. What was it for? And I'm starting a campaign. I'm going to start an Andy program bright and early morning, God willing, because I'm going to start this campaign because far too long, we are allowing PNM to feel like it's PNM country. This is not PNM country. So thanks for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you.
But I hope you join with me to start this campaign.
Of course.
To find out, get some answers about the situation.
Of course. I can let you know right now I join with you 100%. Because had this been anyone, had it been Anand Logan or somebody else, could you imagine what was going on?
So far, had it been Mickie K.
That's right.
Yeah, we don't go so far. Had it been a little black boy. Let me don't go so far, Mickie K. I respect the views, Anand Logan, whatever. But let me start from we too. If that was me or you.
Yeah.
So let me get to this serious allegation, and Mickie K, let me keep it alive because we're not doing this anymore. Enjoy evening, brother. Thanks.
Same to you. You're right. It has to stay alive. It has to be in the forefront of everything. I mean, come on. I mean, there are more questions than answers, and something has to be wrong. When do ministers get paid via check? That they go and actually pick up is a paycheck or something? All of these things we need to know. The Prime Minister has made it quite clear that once you're doing business and it entails taxpayers' money, we have a right to know. You're renting building, we have a right to know. You're purchasing vehicles, we have a right to know. It's within our right. You can't just send something and post something and say, hey, I went to pick up a check, I'm an attorney, back off, otherwise what? Otherwise what? And he's correct, that call is correct, days for that done. Otherwise what? You don't own this country. Once you're dealing with taxpayers' money, you have a right we have a right to hold you accountable and ask questions. I mean, Cabinet was in session. So convenient. And does everybody get this facility? Is everybody, handle like that? Did you just call and say, hey, P.S., we're talking about the accounting officer here. Somebody who wields a lot of power in the ministry, the accounting officer. The accounting officer, basically wields more power than the minister itself. That is the person that says, listen, minister, whatever you come up with, he or she comes up with, it is the accounting officer to say, all right, we go with it. We green light it, or no. We can't do it at this time. The budget does not, we can't accommodate that in the budget and whatever. So, really and truly, we cannot let this die. We will not let it die. We simply will not walk away from this issue because no telling what has been going on for quite some time. Mr. Sturge had to be taken out of cabinet. In cabinet, that's where they're dealing with our business. I know there are people who are accustomed being taken out of cabinet because it's conflict of interest. They could come out over 100 different times. That was not the case. This was the case of a breach of national security, and the minister had to be alerted. He was in cabinet and he had to come out. That's a big difference. He didn't step out because they were going to rent a building from his in-laws. He didn't come out because they had to go and do something with a finance company with his brother. That's not what he came out for. He came out because it was deemed a breach of national security. And we know we were being told it was caught on camera. So again, we cannot allow this to sleep. We will not allow this to die. Hey folks, it's 7 p.m. That brings us to the end of our program. I want to thank you so much again. Yes, again, until next Sunday, God willing, join us right here, same time, same place, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., The Observer. A lot of action is taking place now, but you have to be conscious, you have to keep observing, and we need to highlight it. So again, and if you have any sort of ideas or suggestions, or perhaps someone that you'd like to see on the program, remember it's only been a month, so things are still in the embryonic stage. Again, we want to thank the Honorable Dr. Lakram Bodo for sharing with us. He's had a hectic month. But if you want to hear from others, please let me know. Just send me a WhatsApp at 494-0938, 494-0938. Be safe out there until next week. And, of course, do have a productive week ahead. I'm Mickie K saying good evening.
The Observer. Mickie K, Mickie K, Mickie K, Mickie K.